Theo Henderson from Unhoused, and I'm here in the studios with a resident that has several bouts of being unhoused and has some interesting perspectives. Echo Park is a very special place for me and Unhoused because it is where I got my beginnings and got, I guess, my sea legs in order how to highlight the stories of the unhoused community in addition to Chinatown and other areas. And I right now want to talk about a lot of things about what is pertaining to the unhoused community. Without further ado, let's welcome Cristy. Welcome, Cristy. Okay.
Hi, Theo. This is Cristy. Hi, everybody. This is Cristy, the unhoused representative of Highland Park. I wanted to come on this show to talk to you guys about decriminalizing the unhoused people in our communities. It is very, very important that the people who are listening to this podcast, especially the people who are unhoused, realize that this is a time for us to build solidarity in our communities. If you do not have an unhoused representative in your area, if for some reason you feel like you're being threatened, that there's sweeps going on, that there's cops trying to take all your stuff, that there's sanitation department trying to take your things, in whatever community across Los Angeles that you are, you do not deserve that. We need to decriminalize you. And one of the steps is to get the people in the community involved. This is not an easy step. First, you have to build solidarity within you guys. I really think that the unhoused people really need to build solidarity similar to the one in Echo Park. Places like Highland Park, I was able to stand up and be the representative for them, but not a lot of neighborhoods have people that are willing to stand up for them. We need to wake up and stand up for our communities.
We were mentioning earlier before we were on camera, and I want to talk about it because this is a conversation that needs to happen in the unhoused, homeless, or structural insecure communities. And it's how we want to be called. A lot of people say that this term unhoused, I use it because I create agency, but what is your perspective on that?
Well, I really think that calling us homeless, calling us transients, calling us bums, calling us anything else other than unhoused can be kind of, it could be a little offensive. I mean, you're talking about people who are human beings. You're not talking about trash. When you say transient, you make it sound like we're picking up trash. Like it just sounds so. Okay, I don't want to say racist. It sounds so insulting. We're human beings. We don't have a home. So technically we are homeless, but we're more unhoused because California, Los Angeles is our home. Yeah, we do have a home. We just don't have a roof over our heads. Plus there's more unhoused people than you think. They're not just people on the street. There's people in motels, people sleeping in their cars. They don't have houses either, even when they have jobs. Even when they have a job to go to a 9 to 5, they're still unhoused. I think the term should change to give us back our dignity. That could be a good way to start decriminalizing us,
One of the things I agree with is that I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and they said because I have sought shelter at a place, well, you're not unhoused anymore. And I would say, you don't understand, I'm still unhoused because this is not a stable place. Tomorrow I could be out on the streets again if I don't have enough funds to stay at this place. And I think this is one of the conversations that many people have this visualization of unhoused, is that people think once you're in a roof that you're not. I stayed unhoused on the kindness of someone's couch. I was unhoused. That wasn't my home.
Of course.
and it wasn't, and the place I'm at is not my home. They're kind enough.
If you're not paying rent, and you're not being able to take a shower at your leisure and come out of your room and just walk around at your leisure, you're not housed.
Yeah.
You're not, if you're not paying your own bills and you're not able to use the home leisurely, you're not. That's not your house.
And if you have to abide by sometimes the crazy rules or the largesse of people that you are staying with, that's not how you're not house secure. I have a question on that very particular point, and he makes a very good point. A friend of mine made it. He says people will stigmatize the new term unhoused. What do you think about that? Because I have some ideas about it, but what do you think about it?
I think people shouldn't stigmatize the name. I think they should be more accepting to it. As I said, anybody who's unhoused, anybody who considers themselves quote-unquote homeless, who is listening to this podcast, I urge you guys not just to stand by in solidarity, but also to start using that term. If you start using it, I'm pretty sure other people are going to start using it soon. Don't call yourself something that they called you. Don't use it to your advantage for the positive. I'm not homeless, I'm unhoused.
Thank you for saying that. So tell us a little bit about your story, because you sound like you are doing some excellent things. You were the representative. How did you start becoming the representative? What was the lightning rod for you to step in?
A lot of things. Basically, a couple of years ago, I was handcuffed for being unhoused. When they did a sweep, they basically sort of like, how do you say, they did a sting on us to, I guess, to see who they could arrest. But these things aren't conducted or weren't conducted in Highland Park just to catch the quote-unquote drug users. They were used to kick us out of the neighborhood because of all the NIMBYs in the area. That area of Highland Park got gentrified very quick, and unfortunately a lot of racist Caucasians, which I don't want to say, but yeah, unfortunately there are a lot. They were calling, they're not beautifying the neighborhood, they're making it worse, we want to make it pretty. So they were kicking everybody out. They were blaming us for a lot of drug use, which not all of us were doing. And they basically took our stuff. They basically took all our stuff, had us in handcuffs while they took our stuff. And that made me very angry. I was like, okay, there's no reason for me and people on the street who I can call family, because let's keep it real, sometimes people on the street can be closer even family.
Exactly.
They were the ones encouraging me. I mean, I don't know if I'm putting too much out there. I don't know. But me, I only smoke. I'm the kind of person that only smokes weed.
Right.
I'm only so I'm like, how
and
could
it's
it be
legal here, so it's not like you're, oh my God,
Yeah, exactly.
It's very accepted here.
Yeah, so it wasn't like, oh, look at me, I'm being arrested and I'm not doing anything. It was more like, why are we all being like handcuffed for being unhoused? Then a little bit after, I ended up going to the hospital because my cart was so heavy. It ended up sending a hernia to my L4 and my L5. I had to go to the hospital. I was kicked out for being unhoused. I had to go back to the street while I was recovering from spinal surgery. And while I was there were a lot of news reports about the unhoused, in which they were saying a lot of derogatory things, how they're this, how they're unsightly, how they're this and that. And I was like, no. Something's got to be done. If at the least I can help in my neighborhood, I'm going to step up and write letters and go to council meetings, neighborhood council meetings, and that's where I started meeting people that could help, and I started getting in touch with LACAN, SWLA, and of course LATU, which I'm a proud member of. I love the Los Angeles Tenants Union. And
that's what I was going to say, let them know what it is, yeah.
Oh yeah, heck yeah, of course. Those are great organizations that help the unhoused, and again, I urge the unhoused population who's listening to go to their nearest LATU chapter and request either an unhoused working group or request to work there. That's a good way to make a difference. Get in touch with your LA Tenants Union, the unhoused working group. They can help. They give out resources, they help people, and they help you get in touch with Streetwatch LA, who records when there are sweeps, who records when there is unfair treatment of the unhoused, so that the unhoused can have support, not just from themselves, but from the community. As I said, it's very, very, very imperative that we build up solidarity. That is why I'm a member of LATU, because I've seen the things that LATU does within its own organization for tenants' rights, and I love what they do with the unhoused working group. They don't just give out small resources like water and tents. They help decriminalize the unhoused. They help people. They help bring awareness. This is what we need. We need to stand up in our communities, all of us together, the tenants and the unhoused, and say gentrification is affecting all of us directly. Yes. The more
outstanding.
Sorry.
No. Go ahead, please.
The more evictions there are in Los Angeles, the more homeless people there are going to be out there unhoused. The more unhoused people there's going to be on the streets. Therefore, they're going to criminalize us more. They're going to try to get rid of us more. You understand? They're going to,
What I want to ask you, too, because COVID-19 has caused a lot of things to happen to bring it into sharp relief. For example, I was thrown out of a park within the Creative Park, to create a shelter for unhoused during COVID-19. The issue is with COVID-19, do you expect, or do you think that there's going to be more unhoused people as a result? People have lost their jobs and not being able to pay their rent?
Of course, there's going to be evictions. There's going to be a lot of people ending up unhoused. And as I've said, not everybody out there should, I'm not saying that anybody should be criminalized at all.
Yeah, great.
But there's going to be people that are like, wait, what? I'm a hardworking person. Why am I being criminalized? And that's the way you guys don't see it. Once you're unhoused, you have absolutely no respect. The cops stop being your friend. Even in the hospital, they can kick you out just because you're unhoused. Now imagine being unhoused and undocumented. That's even worse.
Yes.
You understand? You get harassment, you get treated. I mean, like I've said, I've had my tent burned down. I've had my tent ransacked. I've been through spinal surgery, and I've been handcuffed just for the sake of being unhoused, just for being on the street. And again, this is the harmless stoner. Can you guys even imagine what it must be like for the substance users? I mean, I'm not gonna go and criminalize the unhoused at all. I love the people in my neighborhood. They have been better than my own family. I've had very toxic family members, and the people on the street have actually been, even substance users themselves have told me, don't ever try any substance. They're the ones keeping me up. They're the ones going, yes, Mika, keep going. This is good. Keep fighting for us. I actually end up getting more encouragement. So it's like, how could you look down at them just because they're in substances and say this and this and this and that? Like, you have no idea how these people, the lives of these people live. I mean, I'm not these people. These wonderful people live. I mean, you're talking about mothers, fathers, brothers, cousins, musicians, artists, shy people. You're not just talking about like these big, bad, horrible criminals that you have in your head. Stop thinking what they're saying out in the movies. Stop looking at the world through one side. I mean, you guys gotta remember that the heart breaks before the mind does. So if you're seeing somebody with a mental illness, don't just look at them with pity, but look at them with compassion. This could have been my grandfather. This could have been this. And then you say to yourself, no, they can't be my mom. No, that's not going to be my grandpa. Really? Really? How many unhoused mothers are there in Highland Park with kids of all ages?
Yes.
Okay, myself included. I have 3 boys. And you can't tell me that your mom cannot be unhoused, that she cannot fall in circumstances, that those circumstances could drive her to use substances. You cannot say those things. Stop looking at people like they're trash. Yes, I understand it's not nice to see substance abuse. It is never nice. But I see people having more compassion for people in the media. Like Heath Ledger died of an overdose.
Yes.
It was medical overdose, but still they were drugs. Okay, prescription drugs are not that different from heavy substances.
Michael Jackson, Prince, River Phoenix, Drew Barrymore. These are the celebrities that had
Substance abuse.
Lindsay Lohan. All of them had mental health issues and substance usage. But our society, we're blaming and shaming society. We have been programmed to be heartless, callous, and evil, and to find a way to other people in order for us to be honest and open and compassionate about it. How long have you been unhoused?
I've been unhoused for 3 years. I started in my truck. I was in a truck that got repossessed because I couldn't pay for the parking. So I had my truck repossessed with everything. The person who sold it to me did not want to give me the paperwork for it. So when it went into the junkyard, that person took it and gave away all my stuff. So it was bad.
That's horrible, and I can imagine the challenges of it. I want to ask this newer question. It's like, what was it like the first night that you were unhoused? Because I had someone reach out to me, ask me, because they are becoming unhoused, and they want to know what's the first thing and what goes through their mind. What was your first thoughts?
Well, honestly, I couldn't believe that I was left with just out on the street. I mean, like I said, it was circumstance. I lost my job, I lost my kids, things started going downhill, right? I'm not gonna say that I was prepared for it, but thankfully, due to me trying to be resourceful, I was able to get my truck and all that. So I haven't had it as hard the first few days, but I've seen people who they can't handle it. It's really hard for them. It's like they cry. It's not easy being on the street, and especially when you have nothing, when you lose everything, which most of us do every time there's a sweep. We lose all our documents, all our documentation. We lose everything. We lose our blankets, our clothes. We literally have what we have left on our bodies, our shirts, our pants. And if you don't have any socks and you're just wearing sandals, well, fuck you. That's how it is. Sorry about that. Well,
one of the things I noticed too, like the first night that it does have a sense of shock, but I walked a lot because because everyone deals with it differently. I never did it. I walked out in the valley, trying to find a place to force myself to sit down and go to sleep somewhere, because it was like I just refused to do that. Because I think it had to be a psychological breakdown, and so I just kept walking until I think maybe a couple of weeks. Then I did the bus thing. I used to sleep on the 720 Santa Monica bus, because in my mind I could justify I'm not completely all the way lost hope. And I think people realize when they say people like being out here, they don't understand the psychological, emotional, and physical toll it takes on people. That they give up hope if you continually demonize someone or you keep beating them down. One of the things that I talked about in another episode was the fact about the doll experiment. Back in the day, we had black and white dolls, and they would show black people the doll. They would say what would be the good doll and what would be the bad doll. And based on the stereotypes that black people had heard, they would pick the white doll. And based on the stereotypes that about bad things about black people, even black people were saying bad things about them. So if you continually say or live and be drummed into that you are horrible, a waste of breath, and a drug dealer, or with all these other negative, nasty ideas, eventually you ingest those harmful stereotypes, and you tend to believe that even if it's not about you, you will say that you are better than this other person because you're not this. So how are you able to come to the sense of compassion that you expressed earlier? What made you look at us all in the correct human lens, that we're all a human, we're a microcosm of society, and life happens to all of us?
Honestly, what made me wake up was being unhoused, seeing it for myself with my own eyes, because it's a world that you guys don't get to experience until you actually get to live it. It's you're worked, you're indoctrinated to think a certain way, to think, oh, homeless people, drug user, homeless people bad, homeless people rapists, homeless people. And when you go into these encampments and you actually end up losing everything, and you become part of the unhoused, you start realizing, wait a minute, they're not that bad, they're regular human beings. And you start seeing the psychological, the emotional, all the damage. I don't want to glamorize myself to say I've always been this kind and compassionate or anything like that, but I've always tried to help out people before, like I said, maybe here and there I lost track of it, so I wasn't as active as I might have wanted to be. But I mean, you gotta look at people and see the humanity in them, right?
I have to say, I was just having a conversation earlier about this very same thing. I remember, and in fact, a very close friend of mine did this and made me and brought me back to the idea of when people would see unhoused people. When I was a kid, there was this lady that used to go around, and this was before recycling, where people were always recycling. She was like, I have to think she had to be mostly like ahead of her time, because this was like the 70s, 80s. And I would see her going around, and she would she was shabbily dressed, but she would go into garbage can. And this is not like it is now. It wasn't like, it was like such a big surprise to see people.
It was a bit of a shock back then.
My parents would say, if you don't stay in school, this is what you're going to end up like. Or how many people have that are listening now have heard parents say when they see an unhoused person, this is what happens if you don't stay in school or you don't study, and that's what you're going to be. A friend of mine who knew I was unhoused told her daughter this very same thing, and I looked at this is why we have such an antipathy against unhoused people. It's because it's an ignorant and it's a very harmful stereotype, because now she's ingested that. She's going to grow up and she's going to spread that because you passed that poison on to her. And as children, they trust you, and they believe that you have the answer. But when you have a corruption, which it is, you've corrupted this child who was innocent and believes the good in people. And I've seen it when I lived in Chinatown Park. There's a lot of good kids that have a very good, kind, open heart, and then there comes some nasty, corrupted individual, adult, that has completely torn their whole life and their vista of life away by saying these horrible things about over 60 plus unhoused people. So what's your perspective on this?
As I've said before, we really have to stop this as a community. I mean, you can't look on unhoused people and guess why they're unhoused. A lot of people will say, well, this person doesn't have a job. None of them want to get jobs. I've had people in a restaurant in Highland Park tell me that. We asked them for a bit of a donation, and maybe they could either donate some tacos or at the very least they'll cut down the price. And the lady told me, she goes, well, none of you guys want to get jobs. And I'm like, excuse me? Undocumented people cannot get a job that quick here in the U.S. because they can't get,
Thank you for saying
that. Undocumented people don't have a way to get back on their feet as quick as a person that's documented. And some of the unhoused people, as I've said, have mental issues, have substance abuse problems, but those are not just choices that they make up. And, the things that circumstances happen. And as I said, there's a lot of people I love Devon. I don't know if you know Devon Brown.
Yes.
Devon Brown
was over there. I saw him this morning.
Him and Amen. We haven't met them before. We call ourselves freedom fighters. The reason why we're strong is because we choose to keep going and going and going. But how many circumstances have the people on the streets have to dealt with before they broke? As I've said, the heart breaks before the mind does. So you have to really look at them and say, wow, what's gone so wrong in their lives? Because so many people punish themselves. They'll say, I deserve this. Or, oh, I can't get a job. It's too late for me. Look at me. I'm already dirty. They already look down on themselves enough. Do not think that the unhoused people are not aware of what they are.
Yes.
Because they are.
And don't underestimate that they know what you think of them. That's another thing. What really blew my mind, that there is a community of unhoused, like you said, undocumented families out here. And we need to talk about something else as well, is about the undocumented families that are in fear of having their families and their children separated because of some NIMBY Nancy or some NIMBY Nelson that decide, or some parent or principal that sees them maybe when they are running back to where their location, their hiding spot is, and they're called CPS. We need to talk about CPS.
DCFS. I'm sorry, but I don't think highly of DCFS. I'm not gonna say anything negative because I don't want anybody to go and say anything. But DCFS, even if they are looking for the welfare of the child, separating them from their parent is not okay. And a person not being able to make ends meet, which is happening more and more and more and more and more and more across Los Angeles, especially now during COVID and with the gentrification rising, it's very easy for Latinx and Black families to find themselves low income, lower income, and it's not okay. You guys are ripping people apart, taking them away from their parents. Okay, maybe they're not able to provide a completely stable environment for them, but they're better off with their parents than with anybody else.
But gentrification causes this, and like capitalism causes this. That's because you have this belief system about picking yourself up by your bootstraps. If you cannot, we don't have livable wages. We have a stagnant wage from over 30 years ago, and we resist creating a livable wage for people to be able to support their families. You're going to see poverty, and you're going to see disruptions and symptoms that look like they're dangerous because we embrace that. There's always, capitalism has winners and losers, and the people that are not successful, or able to loot the system, like President Trump with his $750 in taxes over billions of dollars, or Gil Cedillo, or
Mitchell Failure. Mitchell Failure. Mitchell Failure.
So let's be real. These things are the result of it, and we pay people like business improvement districts to criminalize and displace people.
Yes, it's horrible. I mean, as I've said, so many businesses around the neighborhoods, local neighborhoods, that will look down at you just because you're unhoused. I mean, a lot of people are so hypocritical. They don't let people use the bathroom. They're afraid of substance abuse, right? But some people won't let them use the bathroom no matter what they look like, and you're like, excuse me? So you don't want me to pee my pants, but you're not letting me use the restroom.
But then complain when they see people use the bathroom out in the public. Because you don't allow bathrooms, you shut the bathrooms down, you refuse to open bathrooms, you don't let them be able to clean themselves. So what do you expect is going to happen?
Exactly. I mean, instead of trying to fight the substance abuse, the substance abusers, try to fight the substance abuse itself, right? Try to decriminalize them. Try to give them the room to go to the bathroom. We're human beings. What do you want us to do? Because some people use substances, that makes us aliens? That gives us a special rock in our back or something? No, we're still human beings that deserve human necessities, and that's a fact that we're going to need to use the restroom. We're going to need to be clean. We're not going to need to shower. So I really commend. I'm really so glad for all the organizations that come and help us with that. The Shower of Hope, Latu, Street Watch LA, all the stuff that they do. I think that's a huge improvement. But people in the communities need to stop looking down at the unhoused people, and start looking at the people that are causing the gentrification. Stop putting them on pedestals.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, it just makes me so angry. Are you kidding me?
These business developers are looked on as like they are great businessmen, or they're just so kind-hearted and all this kind of stuff, but yet behind the scenes, they are just very, they're sucking the soul out of the communities. Yes,
they are. They're just criminalizing everyone. They're trying to, you guys put them on pedestals, as I've said, but it's horrible. I can't stand it. I mean, you see these businesses, they're putting Black Lives Matter, they're trying to give out water when there's protests, but they're the same people that refuse to help you if you ask for unhoused help. They're the same kind of people that say, oh, well, I can't give you a free pizza. What will that do to me, my clients? My clients have to pay, and blah, 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 blah. It's those kind of people that are tearing the neighborhood apart, that are like, well, this mural doesn't have to be here, even though it's Hispanic heritage. Screw this. Let's take it out. Oh, it's Martin Luther King. Let's take him out. Who cares? It's my business. I do whatever I want with it, and I'll raise the prices so that only gentrifying Caucasians can afford it, and screw everybody else. But hey, I love the neighborhood. You know.
And not only that, too. Here's the thing, too. The reality is like these people are are seen acceptable by the city, and which brings up what they use and they weaponize with the police and security outfits. So what's your perspective? What has been your experiences with the police? Do you have a positive view on them?
Heck no, I can't stand the cops. I'm not afraid of telling people that their biggest weapon, especially the unhoused people in the community who are listening to this as we speak. Anybody listening who's unhoused, your biggest weapon against the cops right now is your video camera. Okay? Because you are maintaining shelter in place, in public, as long as you're on public property, in public, you can do shelter in place. There's nothing illegal about being unhoused, right?
Yep.
So there is no reason for the cops to be coming down at you right now during COVID-19 when there's a global pandemic, and they're just harassing us for the sake of being unhoused. I don't like it. I'm sorry, but this is, I don't know what to say. I just can't stand the cops. I mean, ACAB all day. Can't stand them.
And on that note, is there anything else would you like for us, because you have some great news. You mentioned that you have some great news that's been going on. So tell us a little bit about your the news and why you are so motivated now to make sure everyone gets your message out.
Well, I just want to put the message out because the people in Highland Park have been doing so good. They're trying to clean up their areas. The people in Echo Park have been following through. I think, honestly, if the community starts seeing us, the Latinx and the Black communities start seeing that we're smoking and keeping our substance use in check and we're keeping it indoors, I think that's a huge help. And I just want everyone to reach this, to try to do that, to try to do the best, because it's going to work. And people know what you do when they find out what you're doing and you're doing a positive change. They start seeing the change in themselves. And that's what we need. We need people to, build solidarity within communities, but specifically the unhoused people to stand up, to group, to look out for one another, to record, and to know their rights. I mean, if you do that, believe me, it's not going to be that hard. It's not so hard to just keep your substance use indoors and to keep your area clean. It's not that hard. Everything else just comes together once you start, building solidarity. And the thing is, I wanted to tell people, specifically you guys, that I'm kind of sort of stepping down from being the unhoused rep for the area of where I was from, because I've been sheltered for a bit, but I still want to work alongside Latu. And I want to let anyone who's listening know that if you guys need any kind of representation or any kind of organizing or any kind of tips, you guys should be able to get. I'll more than help. I'm more than willing to help people all over the community who may need help organizing, who need to get in touch with these organizations who are having a hard time, who may not have a phone or may not be able to get online. I'm urging you guys to try to get in touch with people like me, because I want to work with more neighborhoods. I want to be able to go and spread this message across. I want to be able to show empowerment. I want them to have that confidence to say, okay, we're unhoused, but we're still human. I want this to go to as many neighborhoods as we can get, so that by the time I start doing that, the people in Highland Park will start stepping up every time there's a sweep, every time. You guys got to know your rights. You guys got to know what's going on. Know how to stand up for yourself. And as I've said, your biggest weapon is your video camera, your phone. Charge it, record. No matter what, you always record.
That's an excellent place to end it. And I thank you very much for you taking your time to come out. There's a quote that I said earlier. It said, an education with only the mind and not the heart is not education at all. What we need a wholesale revamping of the education system about what white supremacy, capitalism, and gentrification does for people that are impacted by it. But we also need compassion and humanity on looking at us as human beings in every facet, from gender expression of identity, from a class system, from race, you name it. And with that said, I thank you all for listening, and I hope we meet in the light of understanding. This is Theo Henderson. Unhoused news. Tragedy has struck again at Echo Park. An unhoused man by the name Sean Murphy, who would have turned 31 on the 26th of this month, passed away on October 2nd, 2020. This is the third unhoused death amid COVID-19, the heat wave, and the brush fire and the aftermath. The other unhoused people that were passed away in Echo Park was Brianna Moore, who was 18 years old, Sean Murphy, who was 29, and Andrew Kettle. On October 10th, it will be the World Mental Health Day. Another tragedy also occurred in San Diego, California. An unhoused woman was run over by a tractor on Oceanside Harbor Beach. In Philadelphia, housing activists are going to try to set up community land for unhoused neighbors. Using inflammatory dog whistles, once again in other news, Los Angeles City Council has revisited and are pushing forward with the city attorney Mike Fura's direction, Ordinance 4118 and the special enforcement zones. If you remember in previous episodes, I mentioned that 10 of the city council members voted to continue the sweeps during COVID-19, despite the CDC advice of keeping them in the area. They're going to use these ordinances 4118 and special enforcement zones to target, criminalize the unhoused community. Councilmember Lee stated it's time to be compassionate to business owners. 4118 will prevent the unhoused to sit, lie, or even be near parks, bridges, or any of the businesses or schools, insinuating that all the unhoused, even the ones with families, are a danger to your children and to the community. And as you probably have guessed, because the city has a history of coddling police brutality, with the example of recent George Floyd and the other deaths here of Mr. McLean, protests have demonstrated the brutality that the LAPD has done here. The constant agreement with NIMBYs, this will be a legal Holocaust roundup. This final solution is on the wings for increased police and upcoming Olympics. In other dire news, Mayor Garcetti abdicates responsibility of the houseless crisis and used the imagery of horse dung to describe the unhoused community. Los Angeles is the second highest number of unhoused in the United States, according to a recent study. In the New York Times, it reports the number of elderly unhoused people have tripled. Meanwhile, a vigilante group who calls themselves Downtown New Yorkers for Safe Cities and Safe Streets are using the excuse that the city did not consult them and the unhoused community are all criminals, are using Twitter and Facebook to get more supporters to fight the expansion of a shelter in Feedy, New York. Echo Park is creating a GoFundMe to provide other alternatives as well as new services to provide in Echo Park to help the unhoused, which is trying to employ the unhoused, get money for lights and other amenities that are necessary that Mitch O'Farrell, council member, is trying to punch down on the unhoused community. Also bear in mind, Mitch O'Farrell is one of the people that voted to continue to criminalize the unhoused with the sweeps. Mitch O'Farrell is also one of the ones that are spearheading the revisiting of 4118. On October 17th, We the Unhoused, among other advocates and partners such as K-Town for All, Los Angeles Community Action Network, Services Not Sweeps, Hello Dogtown podcast, will be hosting a unhoused voters registration and education, where we are going to be talking about the issues that are germane to us and to activate some activism in order for us to fight the anti-unhoused sentiment. And this is Unhoused News. to provide this episode with some nuggets of information about Los Angeles, California, and its different locations. There are many similarities with Echo Park and the city of Hawthorne. Of course, you can have probably guessed it, it is steeped in discrimination. However, Hawthorne is known also as a sundown town. A sundown town is a town that refuses black people to be in the town, to buy a home, or even to stop through the night. Hawthorne represented a white 1950s aura. They also had Cold War experimental planes. They had artists like Marilyn Monroe, Beach Boys, James Mansfield, as well as the young kid from Lassie. Hawthorne was named after the Scarlet Letter author Nathaniel Hawthorne. It prided itself on being a very deeply religious community. As you probably have guessed in the history pertaining with the African American community, anytime you see a religious community, it is always usually was steeped in deep racism in the country here and during the 50s and 60s. Hawthorne was no example. It is similar and is known as the religious community, much like today's Trump religious community, evangelicals. In order to attract the white religious racist community, they would hold revivals, bribing children to generate home leads to rural open areas. Many times people from the Midwest would come by and look in or would be tempted to buy a house in that area. The Italians were welcome there, the Japanese as well, they were the gardeners, but not the blacks, which is not a surprise. Black people were barred from living there. If caught in town, they were thrown in jail, beaten, or killed. In the 30s, the signs would say the N-word, "Don't let the sun set on you" in Hawthorne. Hawthorne also boasts of a famous resident and indigenous athlete by the name of Jim Thorpe, who won a gold medal and was not a victim of the sundown laws that it held for black Americans. Of course, I mentioned before, Marilyn Monroe spent 8 years there, as well as another superstar, Sonny Bono, who spent his formative years there. The same excuses about quality of life and children's safety follow this community today. The unhoused community lives way in the boonies, away from civilization. It took a while for us to find the area, and it's very difficult to find out where they are unless you're actively looking to go out and find the unhoused community. They also get constant harassment. So join us for episode 34 of We the Unhoused, where we get to know the residents and what it's like to live out in a far away from civilization in Hawthorne. This is Theo Henderson from We the Unhoused. We're also out here in Hawthorne, California, near some train tracks, where we are here to get the story and what life is like out here. As you understand that unhoused people, over 60,000 unhoused people are everywhere. They're just not on the sidewalk. They're sometimes near train tracks, abandoned buildings, cars, and hotels, you name it. So without further ado, we're going to introduce our guest, and he's going to tell us a little bit how he became unhoused out here. So, welcome.
Yeah, my name is Felipe Solares, and I have 3 years on the streets. Believe me, this hard.
How did you become out on the street?
Oh, because I was fired in my job. First, I have injury in my job, and
Injured yourself?
yeah, and then I have fired in the job. For things like I see in the job, I want to sue the company.
Like, what did you see that wanted to make you sue?
Because they're not just, there are injustice in the job. They're paying cheap, treated they say they are fair in the job, but no, it's not right. and many things. So I decided to sue the company, but my wife, we are in not agree.
Mm-hmm.
She says, okay, if you wanna do this, do it by yourself alone. You are alone,
Mm-hmm.
and
Why did she didn't want you to fight back?
me,
Yeah.
oh, because I don't know, because I think I have the rights. I want to see if this country, right? This is we have a right to talk to why we are disagree, right?
One of the things too is like, did you feel, because you are not, are you documented or undocumented? So we can.
Oh, I'm document,
So-
but I mean like residence, permanent.
Oh,
not
okay.
not I don't have the citizenship yet.
Oh, I see. I see. So maybe she was concerned about maybe retaliation for your residency.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And like I said, my wife, she don't is disagree with me. We have a problems. This is not the problem. Like, this is just the little drop to
Mhm.
And I ended up on the streets. First, believe me, I feel like the first day, all these days, because you know, uh, I'm sorry if I get emotional
Go
because
ahead, please.
in this situation I lost the communication with my kids. I lost the communication with my wife. After these years, my wife came one day and says, "This is the papers for divorce. We are divorced and we're done." And those days are like the worst for me. So I think being on the street, this is just a part of this. But on top of that, I got my car somebody stole my car. I lost a lot of tools I have in the storage because I cannot pay more the storage. In 1 week become like a ruin for me. Everything like we serious being homeless. Somebody predicted this when I start coming with the homeless because first I'm asleep in my car.
Oh my goodness.
Then one guy told me, "Oh, he says first you're gonna lose your car, then you're gonna lose this and that." It's like
He predicted everything. What was it like your first night to be out away from your family and you're just out here on your own and you just have you and yourself to deal with the situation? How did you handle it?
oh, believe me, it's hard days. Like I mean, some people say in our culture says the men don't cry, but I cry a lot, and I feel alone, feel too much pressure on me. Uh, if I don't get sick, maybe it's because I don't know, because something is holding me. Like uh, I think it's not down to me. With me, it's not down all of them. Like being like throw me in the alcohol, in the drugs or something like that, right?
My next question too is like, if you had someone that was having in your situation, what would you do to help them be able to manage it? Because it's tough to be out here, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what would you do? How would you help prepare them? Because like COVID-19 and people are being evicted from their homes and they don't know. They think it's just like you living in a house. Everything is fun. You can party every day. You can dance. That's so what would you do?
You said like prepare somebody.
Yeah.
I think this thing is not preparation. Like this thing is like a coming like a hurricane or like a like a knockdown. Like
punch. Yeah. A
like
sneak
knock you
punch.
down.
Right.
And believe me, in this right here in homeless,
Mhm.
I've been suffering like stolen, like beat it up, like everything.
You say you got beaten up. I got stabbed a few years ago. So yeah, I know some of the perils about it being out here. So what happened with you when you get? How did you get attacked?
Oh, the first time, it's a bunch of gang members. I surrendered for gang members, and in a circle, and I'm in the middle, and I'm talking to the guy who sounds like he's the director of the gang members, I think how you say, I don't think it's without respect. The only I says is, always I did is be my rights, no, express my rights. But he don't like it. He punched me in the face and let me on the floor, throw like kind of knocked down because he hit me sideways. I never happened this to me. So now and on, I says, hey, don't get close to me when I see somebody like anger to me. Well, and then one day happened when somebody hit me with a cane right here. I have a scarf. I have a scarf right here.
Yeah.
Like you can see.
I see it. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, why would this person hit you with a cane?
Because, that's what I have something into me. Like I have to joke a lot with the people.
Right.
And this supposed to be my friend. Not my friend, but know me, and we living together in one thing. Then I found him in a couple, not months, maybe in a month and a half. I saw him in the street, and we start joking. I start joking with him, and I saw him like a kind of mad or something like that. And he started chasing me with a cane, but I think it's like a game. So on the middle of the street, he come in. I found a couple friends. He saluted friends, and then when I go back to see him, he hit me with a cane on the cane, like he has it in a...
I'm sorry to hear you went
No,
through some...
those are experiences, believe me, maybe these things make me strong in this situation. I don't know how many more I have to suffer, but I think God no more, but
I want to ask you too, because we were mentioning a little bit about it before we got on camera. The police, because they mentioned, like you guys have, as you can see here, there is no regular trash pickup, and they always complain about unhoused people are dirty and things. But we were talking about something that happened with me and as well as you, is that people come and dump the stuff that are housed, and they'll leave it and blame the unhoused. What's going on?
Like always, there is a people I think they, for them it's too much, take the trash to the dumpsters because they had to pay, and they have, it looks like they go in some place and clean the house and charge a lot of money, and then they want to get the how you say, the easy way out of the trash is just dump the trash in some place like it's empty, and they're gonna blame and the homeless people. So
which also brings up an interesting point about how capitalism penalizes even housed people. Is they have so many ridiculous high prices, and instead of banding together and challenging the system, they rather punch down. So how would you be able to get this stuff out if you had?
Well, I can easily remove this trash from here. There's a couple dumpsters that I know where I can, every day they are empty. I can feed the trash right there, but anyway, they're gonna still kick us out of here, right? So
what's the point, huh?
Yeah, what's the point?
Well, also here's the thing too, is that you said the sheriffs came out here, and what did they say?
Oh, you know, believe me, they don't say, they treat us rude, nothing. They just says, if please we can move it from here tomorrow because a crew, the cleaning is coming and they don't wanna throw away, you know, our stuffs.
Where are you going to go?
I don't know. I have no idea.
You see, just because they're polite doesn't mean that they are not going to
Yeah,
follow
exactly.
the law.
That's
The kindest police officer will throw you out because they're just
yeah.
following
That's what I think all the time. Like, oh, they are nice and they are polite, but
they still.
if we ask him, hey, where we can go, he says, go out of the Hawthorne. So they is just throwing the you know, the ball to somewhere else.
Yes.
If we coming out of the Hawthorne, it's like a coming like a we are no more the problems for them. Like we are problems for another city when we landed, right? But believe me, there is over there. You see the street down there is the other side is Redondo Beach,
Right.
and we are like a ball, like they throw it over here, they throw it over there. Like, yeah, exactly.
So you guys, so basically, they'll have no solution for you. They just don't want you in their neighborhood.
Exactly.
The exact definition of NIMBY. Not in my backyard.
Oh, yes, exactly. And there are some officers that very rude. He says, "Get out of Hawthorne.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of here. Get out of Hawthorne. Go to the freeways." Because in the freeways, you know, in the freeways, we have to deal with the highway patrol and the Caltrans.
Mm-hmm.
And Caltrans is another people like it's very rude. People like very rude. Caltrans, they just coming and posted one day, we wanna get you you guys get out of here. Like we have to do it because they coming with I think it's intimidation is the other way like they use intimidate us because they says you are trespassing, we're gonna give you tickets for trespassing, and if you are here when we coming, you can get arrested.
You know, this is one of the things that is seen of a universal thing with the unhoused community is the fact that we explaining that we are harassed and terrorized by the law enforcement. But then you have people that run around saying the police are wonderful, and they don't do anything wrong. And it's like maybe one day this world would understand and wake up to see the reality of this.
Oh,
one of the things before I end is what would be a way of us help you? How could we get you back on your feet?
It's a good question. I don't have a what. I think. Well, we found a place when we can stay, not forever, right? Because I don't want to live forever on the street because it's hard. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like we say, it's hard, so hard. Sometimes we get wet. We have to sleep in wetness because the water is raining. The last year raining a lot, and all the time I was soaking water.
Brush fire.
Yeah. Like, but I want to back to the point, like you says, to the police is some people think the police is nice. That's what I thought before when the first time when I have my first with the sheriffs. Mm-hmm. You know, it is when I when I started coming homeless because I've been sleeping in my car. Mm-hmm. One day coming and knock in my window and I says, let me put a pants because it's summertime and I sleeping in kind of in underwear. Mm-hmm. They put me in underwear on the street in front of the people like is passing, and I think this is like a make us low, like a
intimidating humiliation.
Yeah, humiliation. Yes, because you know nobody deserves to like treat it like that. Nobody deserves to be like that just to just to being homeless or just to being no money or money don't change nothing. We always being like humans and there is no colors. There is only one sentiment, like a survivor on the street. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Thank you very much for your time. This is Theo Henderson from Unhoused. We're going to mill about a little more to interview some other perspectives on the treatment of the unhoused here in Hawthorne, California. Thank you all for listening, and may we again meet in the light of understanding. Theo Henderson from Unhoused. We are out here in a 90-degree Hawthorne, California, and we are here to show the different dimensions of what it is like to be unhoused in other parts of the city. I've covered Hollywood, Shadow Park, Chatsworth. I've covered a whole host of different places, but I'm making my way to certain other areas that doesn't get the love and attention that Unhoused wishes it gets. So here I am out here to spread some love. And speaking of love, this is what justice is love in action. Dr. King says this. So one of the things that I noticed is that one of the difficulties I mentioned during the COVID-19 is when everything stood still. The world stopped and shut down. Unhoused people were unable to charge their phones, as well as the other amenities like bathroom usage and using going to showers. And here we have, out of this need, was not the city doing this, but this is volunteers and activists that have joined in and pooled their resources together to create a solution. And this is called Power Up. Without further ado, we have some of the activists here. We'll have a conversation with them and ask them what prompted them to come out here to do this. Without further ado, let's introduce ourselves.
Hi, I'm Hillary Barker.
Pass that along.
Hi, I'm Matt Zaro. I live here in Hawthorne.
My name's Maggie Clark. I also live here in Hawthorne.
Maggie, I'll start with you. So what got you involved into looking for social justice and giving a flying boot for our unhoused community?
Wow, that is such a big question. I think a lot of things probably kind of contributed, but one big thing for me is I'm a librarian. And I work now at a university here in the South Bay, but my first jobs in libraries were all at public libraries. And, obviously public libraries provide a lot of services for unhoused folks, and I got to know a lot of people through that and kind of get, I think, just a little taste of sort of some of their concerns and their struggles and the things that were difficult for them. I also got to experience so much just violent discrimination that they experience from other library patrons, from library administration sometimes, and just generally from the community. Like, I think a lot of that sort of anti-homeless rhetoric would kind of fall on libraries and librarians, even from like city councils and stuff. And it was like a constant fight to explain why we were providing services to people who are unhoused, which was really disturbing, obviously. And I think that's probably specifically related to unhoused folks. That was kind of what initially got me into it. And then I just sort of have been interested in larger social justice issues for a while. And I started working with Street Watch maybe like a year and a half ago. But our South Bay local, we've just formed in the last couple of months. So that's been really exciting.
I think it's exciting, and I thank you for stepping up and reaching a corner that the Unhoused probably could not ever articulate as eloquently as you are able to. Being a librarian, you're able to show that there is humanity is possible. Let's get to Matt. Matt, tell us what was your aha moment, or what was your moment to start to become involved in this community?
Yeah, so I went to seminary, and while I was there, we have to do we have to go and work at different places, and I did my program in the Tenderloin, so a lot of street ministries out there, and then I did my work study at San Francisco State University, campus ministries there, and we did a lot of street ministries in the city as well. So that was my sort of first taste of like, oh, this is a problem, and there's like ways you can actually help as a person. And then just living in LA, I grew up here. I know it's getting worse. Like, you don't have to tell me, I can see it with my eyes. So I was really concerned about it. And
let me ask you a question, Mike. I don't mean to cut you off, but
no.
Let's ask, what if you hear, because people say that many in the Unhoused don't want help, or they're resistant, and they are a drug addict, or they're crazy, or they have all of the harmful stereotypes, and you're saying you're looking at it and it's getting exploding. What would you say to one of the NIMBY Nelson or NIMBY Nancy that has those kind of ideas?
Well, I would tell them to get out and actually talk to the folks who are unhoused, because like you learn real quick that like everybody's got a story, and you don't I'm surprised how many of these folks out here got on the streets because of their divorce. And I went through a divorce, so like I know that pain, and it was like one of those things I could bond with. And like there's a part of your brain that turns from charity or like abstract helping humans, so like, oh no, I'm helping Chris, I'm helping Bucky. And when that happened, like my relationship to the work really changed. But I would tell them that unhoused folks are just like everyone else, in the sense that like, yeah, sometimes they do have problems. Like everyone I know at church or whatever job I've been to, there are people there who have mental illness issues, and that's not a bad thing. That is, that's just being life. I've met a lot of alcoholics in my life, not unhoused, who are working, and we don't say, oh, their alcoholism caused their employment. Like that's just so I would say people are people, and you have to take them where they're at and love them. And that's, I don't know if I'm rambling now, but
that's understandable. Let's pass the baton to let's have you introduce yourself. Yes.
Yeah, I'm Hillary. So I got into Street Watch a few months ago. I grew up in LA as well, and the homeless problem is growing, and I've always been concerned about it. And like about 4 months ago, I started working downtown more regularly and close by Skid Row, and it's just right there. And then I learned, I forget how I learned about Street Watch exactly, but when I started reading about what they were doing, that was sort of like a light bulb went off, like, oh duh, I can just go bring some water, and just basic things like humanity. And it was such a moment for me. I was like, why am I not doing this? And so that's when I got involved, and I'm really happy I did.
Now, explain to me the concept of Power Up for people that understands, that are new to the situation, because they have may not have heard of it. I know of it. I know that it requires some kind of organization with charging. So let's start from there.
Yeah, so we bring out a generator and power strips and cables and chargers and a table and a tent and some food and some waters, and we just set it up and allow people to come by and charge their devices and grab some food and water and even have a conversation.
What were the obstacles to creating this, and how often you guys do this?
We've been doing it about once a week.
there aren't as many obstacles as you might think. Like, I think if you have 3 or 4 people and $500, you could probably start a power up table. So There is the initial cost, and you have to have electricity to charge the unit. So if you have to have access to that. But other than that, if you have some friends and you have the heart for it, you can get out here and do a power up table yourself.
I have a question I'm going to ask you. Is that what if, because this area here in some respect is kind of off the beaten path. Now let's say, because they have a power up here at Echo Park and MacArthur Park and other parts of LA. They met with some police and NIMBY resistance. Police harassed the unhoused people. People harassed the people at I think they threatened to ticket them for having this stuff and things like that. So what happens? Do you guys experience this, and if it happens, what kind of creative solutions can we do to meet the need where the city and the police are not meeting this need?
That's such a good question. It's weird because we are, I don't know if podcast listeners will be able to tell, we really are off the beaten track. We're like in the back of a parking lot next to like these railroad tracks, right. Which is not uncommon in the South Bay because a lot of our city governments have been really, really aggressive about evicting unhoused people from anywhere where people can see them, really, like parks, sidewalks, stuff like that. We have a lot of NIMBYism in this area. So a lot of our unhoused folks have been kind of pushed into these really inaccessible or sort of more off the beaten path areas, but we still experience, they experience a lot of harassment from law enforcement back here. I think since we've been doing this, they've threatened to sweep this encampment 5 times. Like they literally just did it today. And then the ridiculous thing is they never do it. But like once a week, someone from Hawthorne PD or LA Sheriffs shows up and says, if you guys don't leave, we're going to come sweep you tomorrow. And then they don't come. And it's incredibly frustrating and it has a huge psychological toll.
Because, I have to down because I experienced that kind of crap. Because I know when they do that down in LA or in where the area that I'm in, it's usually, and I don't want to say this I don't want to curse on the thing, but they have one person that usually is the butthole, the person that usually they always comes out and causes problems. Is that the same thing that comes on out here too? That you have that kind of thing, or do they have new rotating officers?
I feel like, I don't know, maybe you would be better to answer.
Eric
might be the best to answer this. I feel like it's like a...
I'm going to try to not to let
have a seat, Eric.
My anger to overtake me, but I
feel you on that one. So let me reiterate my words. Repeat the question.
So does they have a certain select police officer that comes out and targets the unhoused people, or is it just a random group of people decide to just come down and bother you? They stated that you guys faced this harassment today. So what's going on?
So by a day-to-day basis, we have a lot of sheriffs and a lot of Hawthorne PD coming here and saying that people are complaining. Now they never state. Right, they can't state who's complaining. First they said Costco, so nobody goes to Costco anymore. Now they're saying that the back lot is, and now they're saying that the storage unit is. So they come and it's like they have to feel they're manipulating their for.
Here whatsoever, we're out in the boonies somewhere, damn where. So that's just ridiculous.
And if you see, we're really discreet. You can't really unless you really walk over here.
Really look and find you guys.
The blue tarp might be a little bit like out there, but behind that you won't know anybody's out there.
But the tarp, but still, here's what I'm trying to say. Here's a train track. There are fences all around. There's no way that people. I don't see any.
Y'all gotta be nosy.
Coming with their shopping cart, rolling down the street to a train to catch a train. So how ridiculous is that kind of thing? But that's what NIMBYism does. That's why I have to calm myself down. But this is what I had a flashback. But this is what that I understand. So how long have you been out here?
I've been out here for like 7 months.
How did you become unhoused?
I had an apartment and it didn't work out with people that you live with. You know how that goes. And they had a place to go and we were not prepared for it because we were basically paying the majority of the rent. Right. So we didn't have any like extra to save up for another down payment on an apartment, you know? And
it's hot here in California and any other area, so please understand.
You know,
it's not like easily.
And it wasn't tax season yet, you know what I mean? Yeah. So we just put everything in a cart and got a storage unit and put all of our stuff in there, and we just kind of like motel surf for a little bit, and then it got to the point where like $100 a day is hard to get sometimes.
Yeah. So
So we just kind of posted up a tent with the approval of one of my friends over here, and it just, you know, we just started saving up our money here. I think it's a better way to do it, you know?
Yeah.
You don't, all you have to worry about is food, and obviously you want to shower, you go to a gym or something, you know? And you just handle what you got to handle, you know?
Right. So, you know, and you have a fortunate ability because you have youth on your side, where if for people that I like, that maybe, I don't want to say, let's just say seasoned, age seasoned, I don't want to call myself old, age seasoned, that we, you know, it's not easily to bounce back if you have health challenges and things like that, which you may and may not have. But how did you find here, conversely, than somewhere, let's say, for example, Skid Row?
Some of my homegirls are from Hawthorne, and I just like looked around and heard that one of my friend Lucy's out here.
Yeah, okay.
So I asked her if it was okay to put a tent over here, and she said it was cool.
Okay.
We were more than welcome, and that kind of like gave us, less stress to worry about for a little bit, you know.
Okay. What's the difficulty of living out here? And this is a different life to live in here than where I lived. I lived out in Chinatown in the city and a park at night, and this is a little bit different because one, the foot traffic was a lot, the police presence was a lot. I mean, they were constantly there, and then there is also private security. Then there's the NIMBYs. So, and which is we got that in common. But this is a little bit more outside here. How is it to live out here? What's the challenges here?
Over here, there's a lot of people that pretend to be, not pretend, but they have a place to live, and they come and play homeless and try to like bring the heat from the police over here. So some people don't live over here, man. They commit crimes, come over here to hide, thinking that, oh, well, I know her, so I'm gonna see if I can hide in her tent real quick. They won't know. And then we wind up getting, you know, the outcome of it because we live here. So it affects us because there's constant police looking for somebody, and it winds up being a problem because there's a lot of traffic because of that, you know?
I see. So is there places for you to get food and showers and places like that here?
Yeah. When the detectives come, not just a regular officer, but a detective comes, the detectives come to give us resource pamphlets to help us get into like some type of source, and they try to like give us the best advice they can. They've never arrested us or put us in handcuffs and searched us. It's just the constant harassment, like as if we're a nuisance, and it's like we're very discreet. All of us are very discreet. If somebody's not here that we know, we pretend like we're not here. We literally will like look like we're out. We will all tear our shits down and we'll leave somewhere and we'll come back later when they're all gone. So we are very discreet. You know, it's like they're almost harassing us, and they're bullying us because we're not doing anything to them. They're trying to like almost like antagonize us. Yes.
Well, not only that too, because I noticed one thing as a common feature with Cristy was telling me about over at Highland Park and other areas is the fact that they have a constant recipe of trying to provoke the unhoused person so they can arrest you. That seems to be the common. They will do constant harassment. They know that it's going to irritate you, but as soon as you voice any disapproval or outrage, then here comes, and particularly like what I had, like 13 cops throwing me out in the rain. So this is a common thing. So what is the way that we can get people to help give assistance and help you get more people to help you get you on your feet?
I don't know how to answer that.
How can we help you get? What's the first step, and for reaching you to get maybe a place to stay that's safer, away from police harassment and
the house key source I've been hearing about. You know,
homes not handcuffs, right?
Yeah.
House keys, not handcuffs. Yes, that's an excellent solution. I think that's. Why do you think that this is such a stumbling block for the city to take a hold or join forces with?
I feel like the Hawthorne area specifically is very like they're anti-homeless people because a big percentage of the city population are unhoused. So I feel like they don't want to put people in housing like that because there's so I can't honestly can't answer that. But I'm just speaking on what I've witnessed myself. I feel like the city doesn't really care about the homeless people. They don't really want to put emphasis on us. They won't help us out.
people that they've never met, and it's always amplified or exaggerated to a point to make it sound like that they are a problem to the community. And what we found is like a lot of times it has is deeply rooted into the gentrification and capitalism. And so we're going to ask a little bit more questions. What is your perspective about this area here? What do you feel that's the energy that goes on, and why that they are against the unhoused community here?
Yeah, I think there's a couple reasons. I think capitalism does give the homeowners around here a real incentive, or at least a perceived incentive, to worry about their property values. So they paid probably somewhere around $1 million for their houses back in the 90s. Now they're worth $2 million, and they need, that's their wealth. That's what they're passing on, and so they do a lot to protect that wealth. And to them, the South Bay has a really long history of things like redlining, homo associations, making so people can't sell to African Americans or other races too.
Many people, I didn't mean to interject.
No.
Many people didn't know that they were doing that very same thing to Nat Cole out near Highland Park in his home. They had a Nat King or Nat clause against renting out to black people. And this Hawthorne is very, very much one of the reasons why I wanted to explore this issue. Well, please continue.
Yeah, so all of the beach cities have a real long history. I grew up in Manhattan Beach. We have Bruce's Beach. I don't know if you know the story behind Bruce's Beach.
Please, let the audience know.
Yeah, so there's a beach community that was African American community, very middle class or actually pretty wealthy community there. And the KKK drove them out, burnt down their resort over there, and the city built a park there and kicked all of the black people out of Manhattan Beach. And so, my parents grew up here too. They know, I hear all kinds of stories about driving while black, and if you're out past sundown in El Segundo, you're getting pulled over and you're getting taken to the edge of town. It's a real history that we like. I'm not proud of that history, but we need to talk about it, because, I do think it feeds into the demonization of the homeless, and it's all comes from sort of the same source, which is we want to keep our property values high, and we'll be racist, we'll do whatever we can to keep our corporate, and that's what capitalism does to us. That's Yeah.
I agree too, because I always have to have a villain in this story, in this fairy tale, which is exactly what it is. It has to have the fairy tale of the hero that's dressed in white and the villain that's dressed in black, or have black skin or brown skin, or some other kind of identifying notion to justify the othering and the criminalization that usually ensues, or murders. And so with all that said, do you think with all of the protests and things going on, does it help open up a conversation with people to understand about the unhoused community, or what?
Yeah, I think so. I think that at the very least, people are starting to see, I think that's why it's so important to have images, and people are starting to see the truth about how police interact. If you would have told somebody, a police officer stole a homeless person's bike, I think 5 years ago they would be less willing to believe you than they are today.
Yes.
So I do think that the protests and sort of the spotlight that's been shining on how our police state, how the police function in our police state, and I think it has made a difference. So I'm a big supporter of Black Lives Matter. Street Watch considers them allies, and we march with them. We do our best here in the South Bay to, when Kinsey, Dijon Kinsey, they put the call out that night. I was so proud of my team. We had like 8 people out there from Street Watch LA, South Bay, showing up and being good allies.
Well, that's what we need. We need everyone, all hands on deck, in order for us to finally dismantle the white supremacy and this anti-unhoused sentiment. We are looking for you that are listening to join us and help us beat us in the light of understanding. And in such, we could do something to make this place a better place than we found it. This is Theo Henderson with Media House. I thank you all for listening again, and may we again meet in the light of understanding. This is Theo Henderson from Unhoused. So here we have a new resident, and I want to introduce him. After our interview, he was listening in, and he wants to tell us his story. So what's your name, sir?
I've been running around from, I was first from Alabama, Birmingham.
What's your name first?
Oh, Stephen Terrence Taylor.
Okay.
I'm also a kid. Like, I have a KIDD family in Alabama and a father in Cleveland, Ohio. And so I ran from Alabama, Birmingham. I was given a ticket by someone that I know, and he paid for my ticket from another country, and then he was brought here, whatever. He's a United States citizen.
Why did you leave Alabama?
For my religion, God alone.
Okay.
And I found out the truth, and like the reason why Thomas Jefferson had a Quran, so to speak. Okay. And he was one of the 4 founding fathers of this nation. And he built something called We the People. That's also in the Quran. So I started finding out about all these truths. Then I found out that I was a messenger, just to shorten it up. This is why you hear all this weird stuff, sounds sometimes. With your angels, they're not more than angels, okay? But there's a gift that is used behind it, that God gives. So the government does know about this. Sorry to say, but they do know about it. The government has been protecting me in a way I'm not at liberty to speak about right now.
One of the questions I have.
Why am I treated this way is what I want to know. Why am I running around all the time trying to get back to my family? I said, well, can I get back home? I'm trying to get back home. My family, they contacted my family. You know what I mean? My Uncle Ricky, he knows, his name Ricky Kid. He knows who I am, and he's African American, and I have Masons in my family. Okay, so what? I don't know too much about the Masons in my family, but I do know I have them. So it's a whole bunch of stuff going on. It's not a conspiracy to kill me or anything, but it's because of who I am.
Well, how long have you been here?
Me, I just been here all day.
You just got here?
Yeah, I've been traveling on the bus, and I've been trying every way to get home. So if you know anyone that can purchase me a Greyhound ticket or anything to get home, then that would be better. Or a phone is really what I need, so I can record things. You know what I mean?
Well, this is one of the things about finding a way to helping the Unhoused community is that what is the best way to help you? So you're looking for a bus ticket to get back home. That's what you're saying.
Right, or a phone,
well,
or
you know
a tent while I'm here. I'll stay here and just watch the community.
Okay. So, well, thank you for telling us your story. Like I said, we can, give it out to the public, and maybe someone can reach out to you here in Echo Park, because this is a common place.
And your stuff is protected. Your camera, you, and you, you're protected. Trust me.
Oh, thank you very much. This is Theo Henderson from Unhoused, and I thank you for your time, and I thank you all for listening, and may we again meet in the light of understanding.
You say you love me, but what does that mean? Love so subjective. If I don't know you that well.
I took my time
waiting for the right inspiration to conclude this episode. In the course of this episode, a lot of things have happened that has moved in a breakneck pace. The city is moving faster to criminalize unhoused under the bridges due to Judge Carter's rule. The city council has approved, again, a business improvement district in Chinatown to criminalize the unhoused. And all through the city, there's meetings and NIMBYs, as in a matter of fact, across the country, there's been retaliation against a vulnerable population, using the same stereotypes that has been used here against many of the unhoused: quality of life, safety of people, children, and drug needles. Through the course of that also, there has been some phenomenal things, some amazing things. We the Unhoused has opened the door for conversation, and people have responded favorably to me, and it surprises me. I did not do We the Unhoused completely alone. I've always had some people that met me where I was, which is why I've been inspired to do the same when I interview the unhoused and figure the solutions. It should be the same. We should meet people where they are. And not everyone is going to be perfect. This obsession that they have to have perfection in order for you to receive help or the conditions is an elusive dream. This time I wanted a way to thank my video editor, Carlos Nieto III. I also want to thank my audio editor, Carla Green, and my other associate editor as well, David Brown, my cartoonist, Katie Fishhill, and also many people behind the scenes that have came to me and came along to offer behind the scenes help and have done a wonderful job. In particular, K-Town for All, I like the Los Angeles Community Action Network, Polo Pantry, and many others that stay in the background. And I wanted to take this opportunity to let people know that I also do video podcasts of We the Unhoused as well. So in the upcoming future, you're going to see some of me highlighting some of these other first responders other than the ones that you all the time see, like medical personnel, fire departments, and police, of course. These are the ones that are grassroots that don't get a dollar, don't make any money off of this. And they come out and they rise to the occasion due to overwhelming public antipathy from the NIMBYs, and then some support from people that really get why we need to get together and band together to create a positive solution. And on that light, I hope the light shines a little bit more brighter toward the light of understanding. Thank you for listening.